that is a key for you guys. I'm going to start with Elijah. Elijah, what time? What chapter we were in last time? Chapter 6, right? Chapter 6.
I think we were before.
Huh?
We were on chapter 5.
I wrote
Chapter
the notes
5.
for our last
Okay.
thing in a different notebook, so I can go grab that if you want to review from
Bill,
last week.
you don't remember anything?
We were talking about, here, let me see. We talked about Henry Hudson and his travels, and we also talked about Hideyoshi and the stuff in China and Japan.
Wow, that's impressive. You remember the name?
Yeah.
How to spell it?
I don't know how to spell it.
Hideyoshi, man. You remember Hideyoshi? I don't remember anything about that. So that's how my memory goes. Hideyoshi, okay, go ahead.
And the different rulers that went on in that time in Japan, different stuff that went on, like, he tried to take control of China, and he failed to that, and then his son, and then the second chapter we learn about his son, and some stuff he did. And before Hideyoshi and Japan and stuff, we learned about Henry Hudson and his travel to try to find the Northwest Passage. And he went on it was 3 or 4 different expeditions. And he was and his crew members ended up having mutiny and sending him away and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we did that last time.
Yeah, we did a lot.
Yeah.
We went through, I think, 3 chapters.
Yeah. Anybody have anything to add on in terms of review? What the guy started to call what is the dynasty? The name dynasty? Is she on? As yet? Okay.
Shogun.
No, that's the position.
Tokugawa. Shogun is a position he created, right? So Shogun. Yeah. Okay. Fast forward. What year is Yaisho's army breaking into the castle of the son of Hideyoshi, whose name is Hideyori? Hideyori. What year is that? We try to frame the time here. What year is that?
Was it in the 1870s?
something?
1615.
Oh.
Okay, 1615. That we will know the time. 1615 time. Then on the other side, the Pacific is Japan. Now, what happened on this side, which is on this side, not necessarily true. That is on the other side of Europe. That is across Atlantic. So we're going to start with chapter 6. Chapter 6. Is she on? No?
Not yet.
Okay. Chapter 6, new colonies. New colonies in the New World. And there are 2 sections. The first section is Strangers, the Saints in Palamos.
What's the chapter called?
New colonies in the New World.
The chapter is called that, but that's what
Yeah, there are 2 sections. The first section called the Strangers and Saints in Polymos, am I right? Polymos. Strange word. Are we good? Okay, so section 1. Section 2 is the Dutch in the New World. Now we talk about the New World. What does the New World means? America, am I? So, okay. World Columbus found. Okay, she's not there still? Huh. I don't have any information either. But she has not got the link yet. Why is it sent to her? Okay, let me see. Okay. One of the things confusing to us is the things now work as it's supposed to be done. Okay, now can you help me to see if this is checking or not? Okay. So let's talking about last time I asked you my reading on Elizabeth the Great, Elizabeth era. I talking about maybe do some research on the 13 colony, what they are. Have you guys done any of that?
Yeah,
I
we did a
I think we all did that
Little bit.
a while
Okay.
ago.
So let's just comment on what the original 30 colonies are. So each one say something on top of your head. So
I mean, they were the
let's try 13 colonies. Okay, write down if you will. What are the arms? So you give 3.
Who?
I mean, they were the people who were kind of the founding.
I just want to know the names, the colonies' name.
Oh, well,
You can say anything. It's okay. I can't. It's off my head.
are the 13 colonies are like have like specific names, or were they
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
these colonies have a name.
yeah,
Don't know?
yeah.
Okay. Don't know any one of them? That would be terrible.
I mean, I'm sure if they were said, I would know what they are. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
You need to remember the 13 colonies' names. That can somebody can test you on that one. So that's the basis of founding this nation. Is you not on? Crazy. Okay. Let me email her. That's start with that. Okay. Copy the invitation to. Huh? What's going on here? Fail to send. Can you believe that? I can't send message even these days. Meeting. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. Sorry for that. So how's everybody doing first? Excited to learn things or not?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I feel not there, so. Am I right, Noah? Yeah. Yeah. So how's your week first?
I had a good week.
Pretty good.
Okay. Send message. Email you. Let's read on them. So, okay. Esther seems you know few.
Yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
down.
You write them down already?
Yeah.
Great. Just give us 3 first. Give us 4 in this case.
New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
Oh, hold on. Let's write down 4. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire,
Hampshire.
Massachusetts.
Man, I don't know how to spell Massachusetts. Can you spell them in for me?
I don't know if I even spelled it right, but
Mas-
Massachusetts.
That's difficult. I don't know how to spell. Okay.
Connecticut,
Connecticut.
Rhode Island,
Connecticut. Rhode. How this? Rhode. I don't know. Rhode Island. The island is rude, not polite. Okay, turn to Naomi. We're gonna have you the last concert. Naomi, what the next?
how about have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. Give me a break. Okay, Noah.
Let's see. So I know we also.
I do have a picture on my notes though that
Oh.
I got from the internet of.
Oh, let me see. Share with us, please. Yeah.
It-
Does it have
just-
names on
It's just
it?
a picture.
Doesn't know. Okay. Go ahead.
So going south, we have Virginia as well.
Virginia,
We also have other southern states like both North Carolina and South Carolina.
North Carolina. There you go. Carolina. And south, am I right? So.
We also have Georgia, which is the furthest south.
Mm-hmm. So we are on 8. So Georgia. Okay. Mm-hmm. What else? Can you help me to check in if she is on? Still not on?
Yeah.
Huh.
We're not doing something right.
Mm. Let me give her a call instead. Okay. Say hello for me to your mom. Sorry to bother you guys. Hello? Can you hear us? Wow, the internet must be bad. So I hope you hear us well. Okay, if you have a problem hearing us, let me know. And I can get louder. So can you hear us well?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Great. Sorry for the delay. Tell your mom I have a problem with messaging her. I messaged twice, a link to her. It seems did get through. Maybe it's my computer problem. I don't know. But on my phone, I can message her. On my MacBook Pro, I can't message her. I don't know why. In the future, I'll try to email you guys. Okay? Sorry for the distraction there. So now, basically, presently we did a little bit of review, a lot of chapter. We're talking about the chapter 5 about the warlords for Japan. We're talking about the Hideyoshi, the first major ruler, tried to unite the Japan as one nation. Before that, they're scattered in different what the word called, the little ruling classes there, daimyo, am I right? So called the daimyo, Daimyo. So then he tried to invade China and because then he wanted to cross Korea, and he did not do it. He died. And then, so another former assistant of his took over. And in 1615, he basically united the Japan, finally set on Japan into a dynasty called Tokugawa. So that's on the other side in American speaking across Pacific. Now on the other side, American, that is in the east side across Atlantic, a new chapter history started. That is, we are talking about chapter 6 now. Chapter 6, the title you might want to write down is New Colonies in the New World. It had 2 sections. The first, Strangers, the Saints in Ptolemais, the first part. The second part is the Dutch in the New World. So we did a review query about different states, and as far as I know, there are 13 colonies. We are not launching the text yet. There are 13 colonies. Esther is the most knowledgeable one, and Elijah is a black. Naomi is black as well, so Noah seems knowledgeable as well. But the first 8 New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Virginia, North and the South Carolina, and then Georgia. Please continue your list, Noah. What's next?
A few
9.
more.
Mhm.
Esther had earlier mentioned New York.
Virginia, New York, yeah.
We also have Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. That's what we should know.
I think there's Maryland as well.
Maryland. That's right.
So it takes us to about 10. There's 3 more.
11 now. Huh. Missouri? No. Mississippi? No.
No,
Not yet.
not those.
Okay. So in
New Jersey.
New
Jersey,
Jersey. That's good. Around New York, New Jersey. What else?
Did you already say Delaware?
Nope.
Delaware. See, that's the smallest states. Delaware. So there you go. 13 states. Delaware.
An interesting thing to keep in mind too is
Yes.
that New Hampshire,
New Hampshire,
Massachusetts,
Massachusetts.
I believe Rhode Island, and
Mhm.
Pennsylvania were religiously established colonies.
Oh, okay. Which
And-
we'll talk about, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Correct.
like you can categorize those, and then the rest are
Oh, great.
a little more economic.
Great. Now, all the older children have their books, but the younger one don't need their books. Good. Okay. So,
Just
okay.
depends on who wants to read it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Naomi, why don't you started with the chapter 1 then? Read the title first. Section 1. Stranger descents in
Strangers and Sins in Plymouth.
Plymouth.
I'm gonna need help with these names because I forgot how to pronounce them.
Mm-hmm.
While Yesu and
Ayasu
Ayasu and how do you say that?
Takugawa.
Takugawa
That's the first name and the last name.
was
Mhm.
establishing his
Shogunate.
in
Shogunate.
Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Hudson was searching for the Northwest Passage in Canada,
Mm.
and the Jamestown colonists were struggling for survival in Virginia. And in England, a young man named William Bradford was making a difficult decision to leave his home country forever.
Let's write that name down. What is the name?
William Bradford.
Brantford. Now that's become a common name, am I right? Bradford.
yeah.
Yeah. So
While William Bradford was a Puritan,
Puritan.
wow, an English Protestant who wanted the Church of England purified of everything borrowed from the Catholic Church, including candles, incense, altars, priests, and prayer books. But unlike other Puritans, Bradford and his friends had given up hope that the Church of England would ever be purified. So they separated from the English church and held their own services. Other Englishmen called them separatists.
Separatists is. Now this is interesting history, am I? So it's talking about this in the beginning, the Anglican Church or the Church in England was built. There's a certain people do not want that church to conform any longer to the Catholic tradition. They wanted to cut every tie, every similarity, basically, So that's what the Puritans about. So at the Church in England did not do that. To feel ostracized, they had to leave, so they left for Dutch actually. So I think that's the history here. But go on, please. Mm-hmm.
King James forced separatists to pay high taxes. He told separatists that they could not use church buildings. William and his friends had to meet in barns and stables, and William knew the king's soldiers would take any opportunity to arrest him and throw him into jail. So he and the other separatists decided to leave England and go to a country where they could worship God in their own way and in freedom. Where would they go?
Where to go?
Holland,
Holland.
the homeland of the Dutch, welcomed
We remember the Holland, the guy who was a warrior for the Holland independence. What is his name? William Prudent.
Silent.
The silent. Sorry, silent. Yeah. Okay, you connect the dots now, right? So okay, yeah. Go ahead.
And since Holland was so close to England, the journey would not be long. William Bradford and the other separatists packed their belongings and families into a tiny wooden ship and sailed across the North Sea to Holland.
Why Holland is a Protestant nation? Am I right? They break off from Catholic worship, so
They settled down in a small Dutch town called Leiden.
you might want to write that down. Leiden. How to spell it? Kayla is Leiden. Okay, Leiden. William Bradford. William, you know how to spell William. Bradford is Bradford. Dutch or Holland is a Protestant nation, as formerly discussed. So go ahead.
Here the separatists were free to meet together in churches. They didn't have to pay extra taxes or worry about being arrested. William Bradford soon married another English separatist, a young woman named Dorothy.
Dorothy! You know Dorothy? The other Dorothy? Tell me what the other Dorothy's name most pop of your head. No what?
So wait,
Dorothy.
are you talking about in history or?
In
just
history,
in
storybook, whatever. So
Oh, I think of Dorothy from Wizard of Oz.
exactly, that's Dorothy. I first heard Dorothy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that young girl, am I right? Carried by the whirlwind. So
Mhm.
okay, why not take turn like this? So yeah, your turn. Together they had a son named John. John's last name would be Bradford, am I right? So his name is John Bradford. So that's a family. Parents' journey for life now passed on to the young one. This is a very interesting history.
But in, how do you pronounce this?
In Leiden.
Leiden. But in Leiden, little John Bradford and the other separatist children learned to speak Dutch. They played with Dutch friends and learned to wear wooden shoes and to skate on the ice tunnel.
Is that right?
They began to forget English. and
You
their-
forget what?
Forget
English.
English. And their separatist beliefs as well.
So here's a culture thing, right? We're talking about. I think I mentioned this a little bit in my time discussion with you. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Some of the children were drawn away from their parents. William Bradford later wrote, "Some became soldiers, others went away to sea. Others took even worse courses, further from the ways of their fathers."
What is the way of their fathers? Babe, that they stick to the tradition, whether good or not. They worship God, treat God's worship God, the purity of worship God as highly standard in their life. So, and the young ones don't follow. Is there a lesson for our young people? I think there is. I hope you know. Go ahead.
William Bradford and the other separatist fathers wanted to take their families to a country where they could raise their children as good English separatists. But they couldn't go back to England, so where would they go?
Yeah.
What about North America?
Read louder, please. It's okay. Yeah.
They said to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The English who settled in Jamestown are free to do as they please. If we travel to North America, we could establish our own colony, a place where every citizen obeys God. The journey to North America was long and dangerous, but 50 of the separatists were willing to go. Their leaders traveled back to England and went to visit rich English merchants. Supply us money to buy a boat and food, the separatists promised, and we'll share with you all the gold and jewels we found in our homeland, in our new homeland. Several merchants agreed to pay for the ship and supplies, on one condition. The 50 separatists had to take along 60 other settlers. 50 men, women, and children couldn't establish a colony all alone. The separatists met other settlers for the first time as they all boarded their new ship. The Mayflower.
You guys know the Mayflower, huh?
Kayla knows the Mayflower.
Is that right? Tell me about it. It was an accident. How that happened? Tell us the story.
She was talking about
the-
going on a ferry to Canada, and she accidentally said the Mayflower.
Oh, I see.
she
So what the real ferry name? The ferry
Yeah,
has a
Just a
name.
ferry.
This
it's
is
just
called
ferry.
ferry.
She didn't really know
Yeah.
the name. She just,
You go to New. Well, then history always in the back of your head. That's good. So.
Yep.
they called these new colonists strangers and themselves
Strangers.
saints. But William Bradford used another name. He called the whole group of settlers pilgrims.
Pilgrims. Wow.
Christians on a holy quest to build a colony where God would be worshipped. Today, we often borrow Bradford's name and call the whole group of settlers strangers and saints alike. The Pilgrims.
The pilgrims. Okay, that's where it came from. Now let's the next person continue. Who is the next person?
Elijah.
Oh. He's tireless writing his notes. That's good. So,
Oh yeah.
the Mayflower sailed from England in
1620.
Yeah, 1620. Yeah, let's write that year down. 1620. So 5 years later, then when Takoyako, what is the word in that guy name? Takogawa, am I conquered the whole
What's the date? 1620.
1620.
William and Dorothy were aboard, but they left little John in Holland, where he would be safe. They knew that the new colony would be a perilous place to live. After many cold, miserable days at sea, the Mayflower sighted land ahead. The Pilgrims had arrived at their new home, but before leaving the ship, the Pilgrims sat down together and drew up a set of laws for their new colony. They wanted to be sure that both strangers and saints would follow the same rules. This Mayflower Compact
Let's write that down. Mayflower, what called?
Compact.
Compact. What a compact means? In those days, compact means almost like a contract, okay, social contracts. So define how you govern yourself, basically. Now this is the first sample of the what is it called? Constitution, right? So later on, so
Said that all colonists must agree together before a law could be passed. And once the laws were passed, each colonist would obey them with all due submission and obedience. Almost every man on the Mayflower signed this compact. And then, together, the saints and the strangers elected a separatist, John Carver, to be their governor.
what's the name?
John Carver.
Howard. And by this time, it's called what? Governor, right? So that's where governor came from. Colonies have governors. So now you know where governor came from. They also elected him, right? So that's the election came from. So some origin of American setup. So yeah. So why John Bradford is not mentioned yet? Why he's only a backdrop and he play a big role? So go ahead.
At first, the women and children stayed on the Mayflower, while Bradford and the others went out exploring. Finally, the explorers found the perfect place for the new colony. Cornfields were already planted there. A freshwater stream flowed nearby. They even found remains of a few houses, made of saplings, bent into branches and thrust into the ground.
Bend into what? Branches or arches? Okay.
And thrust into the ground, and then covered with thick mats made of reeds. It was an Indian village, deserted several years before.
Wow, they already planted corn those days. Okay.
They returned to the Mayflower, shouting the news of their great find. The women who came running to meet them were weeping, and the men were exploring. While the men were exploring, Dorothy Bradford had fallen overboard and drowned.
Can you believe that? That's tragic.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's a sad story, man. Oh. Hey, do you know this story? Anybody know this story? Not really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's terrible. Go ahead.
William Bradford had a little time for grief. Winter was coming, and the Pilgrims had to build log houses for their families. The work was hard and slow. The food they had brought with them from England, dried biscuits, beans, pork, soaked in salt water, began to run out. They began to die from fever, scurvy, and starvation.
What is scurry again? What is scurry?
Just teeth.
Scurvy is
Oh,
something
yes,
that affects
yes,
your teeth and gums,
yes,
and
yes.
it can affect your...
It's a deficiency
Yes.
of vitamin C.
Vitamin C. Okay.
Sometimes 2 or 3 died in one day. William Bradford wrote of these times. But the Native Americans who lived nearby took pity on these newcomers.
Let's Noah read the rest then. So from there. But then the Native Americans who live nearby.
Okay, how do you say this? Massasoit, chief of the Wampanoag tribe.
Well, that is a strange words all there. So let's spell it out. So, Massasoit. Massasoit. Let me repeat. The chief. Massasoit. The chief for Wampanoag. Wampanoag, right? Like a Greek, like group. So Wampanoag. Wampanoag tribe. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Was willing to be friendly. One of his warriors, Squanto, could speak English.
Squanto, Squamto.
So Squanto helped Massasoit and the Englishmen make a treaty, in which they swore not to hurt each other. Squanto himself showed the Pilgrims how to grow crops in their new fields. William Bradford wrote, he showed them how to set the corn in the ground and how to tend it when it came up. Also, he told them if they did not put a fish in the ground with the seed for fertilizer, in these long-used fields it would come to nothing. Starvation was averted, but the young colony, which the English named Plymouth Plantation,
Plymouth,
was still a risky
P-L-Y-M-O-U-T-H,
place to live.
Plymouth Plantation. Excuse me.
One hot day, Governor John Carver was laboring in the cornfields when his head began to hurt. When he came in, he lay down to rest and soon slipped into unconsciousness. Only a few days later, John Carver died. The colonists elected William Bradford to be their new leader. Bradford worked hard to make the colony successful. He planted crops, bought food from English fishing boats that sailed by, and treated the Native Americans with friendship. By the fall of Bradford's first year as governor, the colony finally was beginning to prosper. Their crops, watched over by Squanto, had grown well and the harvest was plentiful. The Pilgrims built fires, cooked a huge feast of corn, wild turkey, fish, and deer, and invited Massasoit
Seriously?
and 90 other Wampanoag Indians to be their guests.
Yeah, you can't make that up. We just around
almost
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
Day, am right?
At this
I know.
first Thanksgiving
Is that right?
feast,
When is Thanksgiving this year?
the pilgrims made thanks to God for their survival.
I can't believe it. I have tried to read a documentary, and the documentary is about the pilgrims. And I read something else. I think the Washington's story.
Oh.
Talking about exactly this story right now. The next session, so it's like all thing conversion. I don't know. Maybe God want me to teach me something. Okay, so
Yeah,
so interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the Thanksgiving. So.
Soon,
Let's see the recipe. Feast of corn, wild turkey, fish, and deer. Wow, we wish we couldn't get some deer this
That's a lot of meat.
Thanksgiving. Oh, fish.
Probably could.
Yeah. 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 Okay, go. I'm sorry.
Soon, more Puritans would come to the New World, seeking the freedom to worship God in their own way. North of Plymouth Plantation, over 2,000 Puritans formed a second Puritan settlement
Wow.
called the Massachusetts Bay Colony.
North of it, called what? The second Puritan settlement, Massachusetts Bay Colony. So Plymouth, north of it, Massachusetts. That's a strange names, man. Why the name like that? That's a long word. Okay.
Today, Plymouth Plantation and the Massachusetts Bay Colony are both part of the state of Massachusetts.
Well, you learn the first pilgrim settled down. They how Massachusetts first came to be. What these people are? They are Puritans. The first leader's name is John what?
Carver.
John Carver. What's the second leader's name? William
Bradford.
Bradford. Okay. Okay. So how many people they have when they ride on Mayflower in total?
They had 110.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That what they call the
I didn't
strange,
get them. I know.
stranger saints or pilgrims. Okay.
What
Anyway.
would that be? 60 strangers and 50 saints?
Yeah.
Hello, is Virginia there, please?
Exactly. Now, next chapter we're gonna move on. We're gonna finish chapter today. So fast forward. Let me read this portion. So the Dutch in the New
I
World.
wanted to let you know, we've taken a look at the tape, and it does have 4 hours.
More English settlers soon came to the New World.
1995 for a tape.
So many English colonies sprung up around
Good news, you have more,
Plymouth
more memories to
Plantation and the Massachusetts
but
Bay
they're
Colony,
charged, $10
that the whole area became known as New England. What are called New England? It's New England, not Old England. Up in Canada, French colonists were living in New France. New France.
71. So it's going to come out to a little over.
Down in the South America, the Spanish had settled New Spain. Can you believe that?
Okay,
Everything's new.
sure.
The Dutch weren't far
Right,
behind.
Yeah, I totally understand.
After William the Silent freed Holland from Spanish rule, the Dutch became known for sailing their sweet cargo ships all over the world.
Throughout the tape.
Groups of rich Dutch merchants joined together to build small settlements.
She goes off and on. She'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, there are some instances where, where the image is kind of hard to see. It doesn't
calling
affect all of the
trading
tape.
posts
Well, I mean,
in
I
the
haven't
Disney
seen
Island,
the tape,
Asia.
but at least as I was going through
They
it,
hired Dutch
reading it,
captains to sell those
I
trading
did notice there
posts,
were issues
bought
there. I just
silk,
wanted to
spicy
double-check
tea and
with you
coffee, and
because
brought them
so
back to European
so
buyers.
that did
Then the
double-check
merchants
it
split the
in
profit
multiple,
among themselves.
of our VCRs
Just
to make sure
trading
it wasn't
road.
an issue with our VCR.
Soon the Dutch government organized all of these merchant groups into one big group called the Dutch East Indian Company. That's very interesting. That's the
Okay,
forerunner of the East Indian Company, England.
something else magnetic. This is kind of what we're used, at least from our experience
The Dutch East India Company made the Netherlands very rich. Amsterdam, Holland, the largest city, became the business port in Europe. Dutch schools, universities were filled with eager students. Dutch merchants built themselves huge homes filled with beautiful hand-made furniture and lovely paintings done by famous Dutch artists like Rembrandt
No worries.
and Vermeer. You know Rembrandt? Who knows painting a little bit? I know you love music a lot. You know anything about painting?
I don't really know what word
Okay.
you're saying.
Rembrandt.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
We'll go ahead.
REMBANDT is a very famous painter, okay? So called the Romantic era, I believe so.
Okay. Well,
And then
I'll
Vermeer,
give you a call.
Vermeer. So
You're so welcome, Virginia. You have a great rest of your day.
the Dutch became the greatest sea traders in the world. Sorry for that. We might disturb your conversation. Meanwhile, you got to make a face making fun. Are you guys too serious about things? Meanwhile, Henry Hudson was searching for the mysterious Northwest Passage. He convinced Dutch merchants to pay for one of his attempts. The attempt failed, but Hudson brought back tales of Indians, Native Americans, were willing to trade beaver pelts, bear skins, and other rich furs. Dutch ships began to travel to the river which Hudson had explored, now called the Hudson River. What is called Hudson River, offering to trade mental pots, pens, knives, arrow points to the native tribes in exchange for beaver, mink, and bear skins. So many Dutch merchants visited the shores of the Hudson River that the area around the water became known as New Netherlands. We have another nation now, New Netherlands. New Netherlands. Okay. Now, with that, Elijah, why don't you continue to read for us? New Netherlands.
Where's the book?
No, where's the
Here,
book?
sorry.
Okay. The chapter started with the government of Holland form a new company.
The Dutch West India Company. This was
So
this.
what's the new company? The Dutch West Indian Company. India Company.
This
So
com-
who is signing? The one signing gonna buy coffee for us, so we can all cheer up. Okay, so.
The one who is doing what now?
so
Who did that? I didn't hear.
somebody did it. Nobody confessed.
Me, maybe?
No, I heard from Naomi actually. So,
I did?
yeah, you didn't even
Naomi,
notice.
you're not allowed to breathe.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'll
right.
hold my breath in.
Not like that. Yeah, like
No,
you're
it's not
dying.
saying that.
Go ahead. Okay, Thanksgiving on the way. You're gonna be fed. So, good.
This company sent 30 families along with cows, sheep, corn, and wheat seeds, plows, and harvesters to settle on the banks of the Hudson River and live year-round. Soon, the other settlements followed. In 1624,
1624.
4 years after the Pilgrims arrived in Plymouth Plantation, the Dutch West India Company decided to build a town called New Amsterdam
New Amsterdam.
on the island called Manhattan Island.
Wow. Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam would become the main port in the capital city of New Netherlands.
Manhattan.
But
So
a Native American tribe called the Lenape already lived on this island. So the Dutch offered the Lenape gifts in exchange for Manhattan Island.
Okay, how's it spelled that? Lenan?
Manhattan,
No, Lenan. The tribe name.
Lenape,
Lenan.
Lenape.
L N-A-P-E, Lanap Drive. So that's where purchase from. Okay.
Okay, who traded gifts?
Dutch. So the Dutch offered the Lenape gifts in exchange for Manhattan Island. The Lenape took gifts. According to the stories told later, these goods were glass beads, pots and kettles, knives and axes, and a few rolls of cloth, worth about $24. Of course, the island of Manhattan was worth far, far more. But the Lenape never intended to sell the island. They believed that the land, like air, was something that everyone shared. The Lenape would settle down in a place, build houses of tree and bark, grow corn and squash, hunt deer and bear, and gather clams and crabs along the shores.
No.
After a few years, when the deer had grown scarce and the crab were harder to find, the Lenape would gather up their belongings and move on. The Lenape thought that the Dutch would live on Manhattan for a few years but then move on. But the colonists of New Amsterdam had no intention of leaving, ever. They built a large fort right at the end of the island and a wide road called the Broadway
That's where the Broadway came from, huh?
that ran from,
So, what are Broadway famous for today?
they do like Broadway shows.
Yeah, shows Broadway. Go ahead. Sorry.
That ran from the fort right across the island. Ships could dock easily at the island, allowing the Dutch to load furs and receive goods. The town of New Amsterdam grew quickly. Ships brought sugar, rum, salt, and spices from India and Africa. Indians traded furs for these goods. Colonists from Jamestown and all over the world came to New Amsterdam on merchant ships. More and more houses were built along the inns where the travelers stayed. The public houses or pubs where they could drink in the evenings,
Think what?
beer in the evenings.
Yeah. That's why I call it pubs. It's a public place, basically. Drink beers.
These pubs were so popular that eventually almost 1/4 of the buildings in New Amsterdam were pubs.
Seriously? That's a lot of pubs. Okay. Want to hear a story, Elaine?
What?
I was watching the original cast for Cats in Broadway. There's a lady every not the Cats. I think it's not Cats. It's the other one. The one, no, the lady who seems getting old. She's lost the stardom a little bit. Then fall in love with a young man, something like that. So.
Funny girl?
I have no idea what the show is about, but it's written by a very famous playwright, So anyway, it turned out that young man is a Chinese American. He is very famous in singing Chinese song for a while in the 80s when I was around. So then he decided it was the most popular singer in the time. After about 5 years, it's almost like on the top of the stardom. So he dropped it all and went to the Broadway and attended the classes, tried to be an actor. Ended up in that role. It's very impressive story. So yeah. Anyway, so interesting. So yeah. Broadway. I like Broadway. so I like the song sometimes. Okay. Just for you to know, this is where the history, when we look in those regions, but that's actually where it started, and right? So now how you remember history, you want to link all the information together, and the history. Oh, Manhattan is from this place. Oh, Broadway is from this place. Okay, so yeah. Let's move on to the next person. So the pubs all around, what's it called? New Amsterdam, am I right? So yeah.
Although trade prospered, the town itself began to fall apart. When boards fell off houses, no one bothered to nail them back on. The dirt packed pigs and cows wandered through the streets, eating garbage at the colonists out of their doors. Traders got drunk in the public houses and raced wagons on top speed through the narrow streets. New Amsterdam's one church fell apart from disuse. The fort at the town's center was collapsing. The Dutch West India Company kept sending new governors to New Amsterdam, but none of these governors could keep control of the rowdy trading center.
What does rowdy means? ROWDY. What does that mean? No one knows what that means. Rowdy.
Like lawless,
Lawless,
undisciplined, and
undisciplined,
crazy.
crazy. Okay. Rowdy Westerners. Rowdy. I mean, go to the West, am I? So that's rowdy means. Okay, good.
In 1647, the Dutch West India Company tried one more new governor, Peter Stuyvesant.
Yes. Stuyvesant. That is a tough one. Nobody can pronounce that first time, I guess. So, can you spell it for us?
Stuyvesant.
Okay, Peter Stuyvesant. Stuyvesant. Okay, good. Thank you.
A tall, grim ex-soldier arrived from Holland on a bright, chilly May morning. When he strode down the gangplanks of his ships, the gathered onlookers heard an odd sound. Step, thump, step, thump, step, thump. Peter Stuyvesant's right leg had been shot off by a cannonball 3 years before. In its place, he wore a wooden peg leg, held together with silver nails and wrapped around by silver bands.
Wow.
Stuyvesant was appalled at what that he saw. He wrote, "New Amsterdam is now greatly decayed in the walls, more and more trodden underfoot by men and cattle." Immediately he began to make new laws. Colonists who wanted to drink would have to pay extra money for their wine and beer. The extra money would be used to repair buildings. All pigs and goats had to be kept in fences. Pubs had to close early in the evening and stay closed on Sundays. Peter Stuyvesant even ordered ministers to preach.
That's
more
quickest
sermons
solution.
on Sundays.
Yeah.
When the colonists complained, Stuyvesant retorted, "I'll cut off your head and
What?
send the pieces to Holland so they can complain there."
Yeah. That's like a soldier.
The colonists didn't like the new laws. They called their new governor rude nicknames like Old Silvernails and Stubborn Pete.
Stubble P.
But unhappy colonists were the least of Stuyvesant's worries. His colonies was surrounded by English colonies, and the English were constantly trying to settle down the Dutch land and claim it as their own. Stuyvesant met with the leaders of New England colonies, and together they agreed on a boundary line between English and the Dutch lands. But Stuyvesant was sure that the English planned to invade New Amsterdam. He wrote to the Dutch West India Company, begging for soldiers and weapons. The company, seeing their danger, refused.
Let's continue with Naomi. So.
How do you pronounce his last name?
I would say Stuyvesant.
Stuyvesant ordered a new, higher wall built around New Amsterdam. He put a guard around the wall, both day and night. But when the English did arrive to take over New Amsterdam, the wall was useless. Over in England, King James had died and Charles II had become king.
Wow, I like your reading. It's very impressive. New Amsterdam. So
Charles II declared that the Dutch land in New Netherland was his and gave it to his brother, the Duke of York, was a present.
As a present. Yeah.
As a present. Wow.
Mhm.
Immediately, the Duke of York sent English warships over to North America.
Oh.
The ships sailed into the harbor of Manhattan Island and surrounded it. No one could get into or out of New Amsterdam. Without soldiers and weapons, running out of food, the people of New Amsterdam were terrified. They begged Stuyvesant and surrendered peacefully without fighting back.
Hmm.
Reluctantly, Stuyvesant did. Pleased by the victory, the English merchant marched into New Amsterdam and renamed it New York, in honor of the Duke of York. The new English governor announced that all Dutch could keep their land and houses and go on speaking Dutch, but they would become English citizens. Anyone who didn't wish to become an English citizen, he proclaimed, may return to Holland in peace.
That's why they call the Dutch, the New Yorkers, they now call the Dutch. They have a nickname. Especially Southern people said, the Dutch, the Dutch. Yeah. That's where it came from. So,
Peter Stuyvesant did not want to return to Holland. He now thought of New Amsterdam as home. Sadly, he gathered his family together and retired to his farm on Manhattan Island. He had worked for 17 years to rule New Amsterdam, but now the Dutch Empire and the New World was gone.
that's it?
No, sorry, I lost
Okay.
my spot.
Me too.
From New England down to Jamestown, North America was all English. But some remnants
Remnants.
of New Amsterdam remained. In the modern city of New York, you can still walk down the Wall Street, the path that once ran along the wall Stuyvesant built to protect New Amsterdam. You can eat dinner at a restaurant on Broadway, the Broadway where Dutch public houses once served traders from all over the world. You can still visit Peter Stuyvesant's grave. When he died, he was buried in the chapel on his farm. Today, the chapel is St. Mark's Church in Manhattan, New York, and the street that runs past it is called Stuyvesant Street.
Oh, that's interesting. Stuyvesant Street. Now that's landmark. Wall Street is came from because it built around the protection wall. Can you believe that? I don't know that. Okay, so we wrap it up on this one. Somebody want to do a recap for us? Anybody want to hear?
This
Go
will
ahead.
be the
Mhm.
Strangers and Saints.
Okay.
So William Bradford decided to leave his country
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted to have a place to freely worship God.
Mm. He was
He was a separatist.
a separatist.
Puritan.
Okay.
He was a Puritan and he became a separatist.
Mm-hmm.
And so he headed to Holland and settled in a town called Leiden.
Mm.
And he got married to Dorothy and had a son named John.
Wow, you guys are good learners. So you even know the place where he moved to. Okay, good. Yeah.
And then, I don't know how I missed some stuff, maybe I was reading, but I kind of jumped to, then they left on a journey to North America,
Mm-hmm.
which was a dangerous journey, and
Mm-hmm.
they boarded a ship called the Mayflower. And
Flower.
in 1620 they sailed from England with pilgrims.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the Mayflower Compact. What did they agree on again? I forgot.
Don't attack each other, I guess.
agree together
no,
to
no,
what?
I'm not so sure. So whether
To agree together in decisions and not just made by one.
Oh yes,
people
all of them
like
has
that.
to agree on
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
law. The way
So
of
they
making
decided to
law. Mm-hmm.
have John Carver as their governor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to They got. What did they land? I don't know how I missed that.
This struggle to maintain their food, right? To survive,
Yeah.
basically. And they got
And then
it.
they found a deserted Indian village where?
It's
North
not
America.
really, yeah, not really saying anything about that, but
And then that's when they began to like build up some things, but many died from starvation, scurvy.
mhm.
But how do you say his name? Masuit? The
Who
chief
knows?
of Waimon
Mhm.
tribe is willing to help them,
Mhm.
and one of his men, Squato,
Mhm.
he knew English,
Mhm.
and they made a treaty not to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And then William became leader after John died,
Mm.
and that's about all I got.
Okay. Then the two plantations named Puritan plantations are Plymouth Plantation and Massachusetts Bay Plantation. Later on become the states.
Yeah, the Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay. So who want to do us the honor the next portion? No, I know you do it. Yeah.
Sure. So moves on to the colonies initiated by the Dutch in the New World,
Mm.
which the area of which became known as New England. They gave some. No, I'm sorry. They gave an introduction to what was the initial case before the Dutch began to come.
Mm.
So we had New England
Mhm.
from the English. North of that was New France, and south of that
Mm.
was New Spain.
Mm.
Each giving an idea of what country they came from.
Yeah.
So Dutch merchants already, this was in Europe, who owned trading posts in Asia,
Mhm.
came together to form the Dutch East India Company.
Mhm.
So then the Dutch in the New World began to trade with natives at the location we were given was the Hudson River, which we have an idea
Yeah.
of the history of.
Mhm.
And so this area became known as the New Netherlands
Mm.
as the Dutch began to trade there.
Mhm.
The primary company that
Is
managed these things was the
Mm.
Dutch West India
company.
Company.
Mm.
Managed the settlements there.
Mm.
And then they built New Amsterdam on Manhattan Island, which they had purchased or traded with the Indians for a very cheap amount of gifts, as we were told,
Mm.
because the Indians had an idea that they would eventually move out as their own people did,
Yeah.
but that evidently was not the case.
What's an Indian's tribe name?
I didn't write that.
Lenape. Lenape. Lenape.
Hmm.
Anyway, go ahead.
So of course, New Amsterdam very quickly grew. We had people to come and move in and trade with this town from all over the world.
Mm.
But then eventually it began to deteriorate or fall apart.
Mhm.
Became very rowdy, which is the word used. So
Mhm.
it wasn't managed very well. People didn't care about its well-being for the
Mm.
most part.
Mhm.
Governors were sent in and out, just nothing was working. And then the Dutch West India Company sent Stuyvesant, who was an ex-soldier, to reform this town. So he set a variety of different laws in order to do so.
Which is the leg is lost? Left or right?
I guess is going to be left.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Right leg has a left.
It was right leg?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's good detail to know, huh?
I guess. So after a time, Stuyvesant began to realize that the nearby or adjacent English colonies were seeking to take over that area of New Amsterdam. So he foresaw this and wanted to acquire arms and defenses from the Dutch back in Europe, and they did not grant him this. So eventually, Charles II sent I think a fleet of ships to surround New Amsterdam.
Took it over, huh?
So it was thereafter surrendered, taken over by the English, and renamed New York. And
Mm.
every citizen, whether or not they were originally English or Dutch, became an English citizen.
Mm.
And if they did not want to be an English citizen, they had to peacefully move out of the city
Yeah.
or the town. And so then at this point, we were also told that North America from this area of New York to Jamestown was all English colony.
Yeah, the Dutch chased it out and rice converted the English people. Anyways, well, you guys are wonderful students, a perfect review. I like it, so thank the Lord.